So right now our basement TV is straddling these two cabinets, and I want to build a single top to go over the whole thing. I think it'll make it sturdier and look nicer. A good future project would be to build a whole new cabinet here, but until I got that planned and figured out, just a single top is what I'm looking for. Keep it simple, keep it cheap. I want something 50 inches long and 21 or even 22 inches deep. I want this to be cheap and simple, so I'm piecing this together out of scraps, and I happen to have some pine shelving that I salvaged when my son moved, and all the furniture out there is pine right now, so that works. It's not long enough, but I'm just going to piece it together and make it work. Actually, this shelf is too long, but it's not wide enough, so I need to add pieces on. So I'm going to have to piece things together, and we're going to make it work. We're going to start by cutting this down to 50 inches in length. This shelf has this lip running along the length, which I kind of like, so I want to keep this as the front of the shelf. So first I need to trim the shelf here, and then we'll cut it to length. So these two pieces I'm going to need to join end to end, which should be fine, but I want to tie them together. So my thought was that I'd take, say, 1.5 inches or 2 inches off the back of this and then put that strip along the back to tie it all together. However, I noticed that this shelf, because it's one solid piece of pine, has a little bit of a bow in it. So I'm actually going to rip it at 5 inches, because that's right where the bow is, and then I'll glue it together. So all these pieces are going to go together something like this. That's just a little bit under 50 inches, so that should be okay. But I need to take these lips off now. I'm just going to line it up to the board. And I think I better set up a feather board here. This is pre-finished, so I need to run this through the table saw and just take a skim coat off of each side so it's a nice fresh edge ready for gluing. These have been split in half, so they are ready for already. They're already ready. Mark this joint, and I'm going to put dowels along there to pull that into alignment. I line the check mark on the jig up with the check mark that I made on the piece. And then the same holes on the matching board. Everything nicely lines up. Like I said, these are for alignment, but I'm still going to put glue in the holes because, and it may be an end grain joint, but I'm still going to put glue on it also. I don't have a long enough clamp, so I'm just going to put some clamps and then clamp the clamps. Okay, I didn't get a lot on film because that didn't go so well. Future note, putting clamps on pre-finished stuff means clamps tend to slip. I ended up doubling up the clamps, and I put sandpaper under the pads of the clamps, and as you can see, they're still being pulled. I think I got an okay joint, but not a great one. There's not a lot of strength that I'm worried about here. It's more about aesthetics, so we'll see. I'm gonna let this set up for like 30 to 45 minutes. It's a good time to put the kettle on and make a cup of tea anyways, because I need a mental break. So here's the end result. Again, not the greatest joint, but a butt joint was never going to be that beautiful. The irony is that, I was always going to sand it down before finishing it. I just was figuring I could do that later, but should have done that first. We're just having fun in the shop today, hey? We're just having fun. Next, I'm going to glue this together. So here we go, another glue up. And the continuing saga of art experiencing setbacks is continuing. Practicing for the glue up. I've got my clamps in position. I've got some cauls here to help line it up, and it's not working. It's not lining up. I think these were solid pine boards. They were shelves in my son's house, and I think they just moved a little bit. I'm not getting things lined up. I'm going to stop now. I've got to rip the front off this, and I'm going to plane all these down because they're just not lining up. I think things have shifted, so I didn't want to have to take the lip off the front. I thought I could just quickly knock this out, but I'm going to regret it if I don't stop now. I have just over 7/8 of an inch to play with, so I have plenty of room for planing. I'm just going to run the boards through and flip them each time until they're all the same and reasonably flat so that I can expect that I'll be able to line them up in a glue up. So that didn't even take that long. It's just 3 passes through. Really, it'll save me sanding at the end when I need to sand before putting some finish on. So it's more that you have your idea about how you want to do things, and no, that's not going to work. You got to do it a different way. But that's one of the things with woodworking. There's more than one way to do it. 17 clamps later, I think we're good for now. Well, that turned out pretty good, so I'll spend some time sanding before I glue this back on. I just had an idea about something to do with this front edge. I didn't like having to rip it off, but since I did rip it off, that lets me put it back differently. I was just about to take this and glue it here like it had been when I thought if I actually glue it on the front, it makes my top just a little bit bigger front to back, which I kind of like. And it makes this a little bit less imposing on the front, which I also like. Instead of like that, making this super thick, it goes on the front. It makes for a smaller front. I like that. So another glue up. Okay, that front is on there nicely, and I'm really happy about the little extended size of the top. Next, I'm going to run a router along the front to round it over. We'll trim it to size and a bit more sanding. One last finishing touch is these holes from screws. I'm going to drill these out to a 1/4 inch, cut some plugs, and I'm going to tap them home. One, two, three, four, 5. Almost disappeared. Very glad I did that. For a finish, I'm using my favorite Minwax oil modified polyurethane, which despite the word oil in the name is a water-based poly. Goes on nice and easy with a foam brush. And no odor virtually. And no, this is not sponsored, but I like it because it gives a bit of an amber color like oil finishes do, but it's water-based. And yeah, I want this to get a nice bit of an amber color to it. I think that'll match the pieces out there, and it'll look nice on this. But let us skip ahead now. Well, it's not so pale anymore. That pine used to be so pale, but the finish definitely ambers up. I put 4 coats on top for extra protection. I put 3 coats of finish on the bottom. Here's a couple of close-ups of the top. And of course, here it is installed under the TV, exactly what I was planning on. One single top under the whole TV, unifies it. But then I promptly took it back into the shop because, well, the finish needs to cure for 2 or 3 days before you put it into constant contact with something like that. So, but I had to get the glamour shots to show you. So, it's supposed to be a quick and simple project, but lots went wrong. But hopefully that made for a more interesting video. Thanks for stopping by. Bye.